Welcome to the Eagles Checkdown, right here on the Eagles Pinpole Podcast Network. This is the fastest under 10-minute Eagles podcast there is, covering news, notes, and opinions on your Philadelphia Eagles. I'm your host, Phil Stifle. You can find me on all social media platforms at Beard of Knowledge, and of course, hosting Trending in the AM on the STT Sports Network every single morning at 8 a.m. There's a link in the description down below. Guys, it's Tuesday morning. It is January 14th. I'm recording this on Monday night, so we do not yet know who the Eagles' opponent will be next Sunday in the NFL divisional round of the playoffs. Right now, early in the game, the Rams are up 10-0 when I'm recording this, but we'll see. So tomorrow on the show on Wednesday, we'll go over initial thoughts on the matchup against either the Rams or the Vikings. Today, we want to continue to recap Sunday's victory over the Green Bay Packers and start looking forward just as the Eagles as the team. And, of course, recap Nick Sirianni's Monday after the game press conference. First and foremost, first thing that we've got to discuss is obviously the injury to starting middle linebacker, Mike linebacker, Nakobe Dean. It was reported on Monday he has a torn patellar tendon and is out for the year, obviously out for the rest of this year. Bringing into question being a torn patellar tendon even the start of next year. And it's just a damn shame, what happened to Kobe Dean, considering the work he put into becoming the heartbeat of this defense in the Monday after press conference. Obviously Nick Sirianni was asked about it and just talked about how great of a year he's had, talked about his high IQ and how fast he identifies plays and how lightning fast he is at getting there. It's a huge loss. And the question is, what do the Eagles do for the remainder of the playoffs with that position? It's obviously Oren Burks, who stepped in on Sunday, or Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Do you go with the rookie in the X-Man Jr., or do you go with Oren Burks? And I think the answer is clear as day. You go with Oren Burks at this point. You'll probably bring someone up to the active roster from the practice squad because Nick Sirianni spoke about how they're taking Burks off of special teams because of that. So you'll need the special teams help there. They'll probably sign someone to the practice squad as well. But that's the key thing. And last week of the season when most of the stars were resting, Oren Burks did have 17 tackles in the game. Oren Burks also played and had 5 tackles in the Super Bowl for San Francisco last year. So he is not new to playoff scenarios. Maybe he struggled a little bit about Green Bay, stepping in the moment, but with a full week's worth of practice and getting fully prepared to play next to Zach Bond for a week, I think you'll see a slightly better version of Oren Burks. So I think that's the right way to go. Something I'm going to wait to hear from Vic Fangio when he speaks on Tuesday, because he always speaks on Tuesdays, about Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis only played 12 snaps on Sunday against the Packers compared to someone like Moro Ojomo, who played 23. But if you think of the 12 snaps, 8 were run plays, 4 were pass. The 8 run plays he was in there for, Josh Jacobs averaged 3 yards per carry, 8 carries, 25 yards. The 10 he was not out there for, he had 56 yards, Josh Jacobs, on a 5.6 average. He also got pressure on Jordan Love, 3 of the 4 pass plays, including getting pressure on the Darius Slay interception. So I'm really curious about why, and we've seen this throughout the year, drops in Jordan Davis snap counts throughout the year. Not something you want to see at this point in the season. We kind of hypothesized that his light snaps throughout the season were saving him for the playoffs, but that doesn't seem to be the case because he didn't play last week at all. So something I'm going to keep an eye on. Some more news and notes. Obviously, A.J. Brown got a lot of criticism for reading a book. My man Thomas Peterson did show a picture from the Washington game where he had 8 catches, a touchdown, 97 yards, reading a book as well. So let's move on from that really quickly. I've been doing a lot of thinking about Jalen Hurts and why he seemed to struggle at times. Some of it might have been rust, but I want to bring up a few points that I think also, added to Jalen Hurts' struggles on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. And some of it's on Kellen Moore, not scheming, quick hitting slants and drag routes and stuff like that. Things that you get a rusty quarterback that hasn't played in 3 weeks back in a routine. There was also a lot of poorly spaced routes run and called by Kellen Moore. The Packers did a great job on defense, bracketing those first and second reads. I mean, people forget that the Green Bay Packers were the 6th-ranked defense in football, so you got to give them credit there. The Eagles' offensive line, especially the interior offensive line, struggled in pass protection, constantly getting hands and bodies in Jalen Hurts' face. There's a lack of disguise if you really break down the plays and the run-pass concepts. And, of course, Jalen Hurts is too conservative. But, again, he's conservative because he's trying not to turn the football over. And we criticize him when he turns the ball over. We criticize him when he holds the ball too long and takes a sack. We criticize him when he gets out of the pocket after his first read. He's really, can't win in any of those scenarios. It was announced on Monday that Sean Smith's ref crew will be reffing the game on Sunday, 3 p.m., whoever the Eagles face, the Vikings or the Rams. And for those that don't realize and live under a rock, Sean Smith's crew is the crew that reffed the Washington game a few weeks back where the crazy out-of-left field Chauncey Gardner-Johnson ejection happened, and he's had a beef with the Eagles and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for a while now, a Detroit native that's, looking to help his Detroit Lions, and he's very open about his fandom of the Lions, which is a little weird. So Sean Smith's the ref for the game. So that's something to monitor as well. Other NFL notes, Mike McCarthy is officially out in Dallas, and I say that because it's important because of, obviously, the Kellen Moore connection. It's another opportunity for Kellen Moore. Obviously, he was the offensive coordinator there for a few years, was the backup quarterback there. I'm not sure what his relationship with is Jerry Jones right now, but his connection there is something that's going to be something to look into. Some quick hitters here from the Nick Sirianni press conference outside of Nakobe Dean. Obviously, he talked about the physicality and the toughness and how he preaches blocking, tackling, relentless effort to the ball, mental toughness, all those things on a daily basis, and the team showed that against the Packers. He explained how, you're not going to pitch a perfect game in the playoffs, talking about, Jalen Hurts' struggles, and he brought it up again. Packers' schemes and the struggles, of our passing offense went hand in hand. And he talked about the price for success is the grind that you put out there on a daily basis. He also complimented Oren Burks as well. He talked about what the process is going to be like, tonight with the Rams-Vikings game. He did bring up the offensive line issues and that they have to get on the same page, but also brought up how the whole offense has to go on the same page. He highlighted big-time Nolan Smith for like 3 minutes about how physical he is, how he controls gaps, heavy-handed, big hitter. And Nolan Smith, it wasn't that long ago where, and I checked my receipts on Twitter, a lot of people were telling me Nolan Smith was a bust, and I was telling them, pump the brakes. Nolan Smith might actually be something. So, and Nolan Smith is actually becoming a dominant force for this Eagles offense or defense, in the playoffs in the second half of the season. Guys, we'll know tomorrow whether it's the Eagles. Well, you guys will know while you're listening to this, but I'll know and talk about it tomorrow whether they're facing the Rams or the Vikings. One final update, it's still 10-0 after the first quarter. Rams are up. Could be the Rams that we're facing there. So keep that in mind. We'll talk about that tomorrow. This is the Eagles Checkdown right here on the Eagles Pinball Podcast Network. I'm your host, Phil Stiefel. Go Birds, and bubbles up.